Welcome to my channel. Old Coins News a Day videos is one you want to miss. We're diving into the world of coins, so let's get it started. The New Zealand 1975 5-cent coin belongs to the pre-decimal heritage of New Zealand currency system, which was restructured in 1967, when the country officially adopted decimal coinage. Before that, New Zealand operated under the British-inspired system of pounds, shillings, and pence, but the switch to a decimal framework modernized the nation's monetary economy. The 5-cent coin was introduced in this transformation, serving as a direct equivalent to the old sixpence coin. By 1975, the coin was still relatively young in the decimal system circulation, but it had already become one of the most familiar pieces of pocket change in New Zealand, embodying both the British monarchy's continuing presence and New Zealand's unique natural identity. The 5-cent denomination eventually carried special cultural weight, as it was one of the smallest circulating coins in the system until it was demonetized in 2006 due to inflationary changes and the decreasing practicality of very low-value coins. On the obverse of the 1975 issue, the coin bears the effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, reflecting New Zealand's status as a constitutional monarchy within the Commonwealth realm. The portrait used in 1975 was designed by Arnold Machin, a British sculptor whose work became standard across many Commonwealth nations' coinage during the 1960s and 1970s. His effigy depicts the Queen facing right, adorned with a tiara, elegant in its simplicity yet deeply symbolic of the monarchy's dignified but modern representation at the time. Around the portrait runs the legend Elizabeth II New Zealand 1975, clearly declaring the issuing authority and the year minting. The typeface is refined and consistent with other decimal coins, ensuring legibility and continuity with British coin traditions. This obverse design stayed on New Zealand coins for many years, linking the nation's coinage visually with that of the United Kingdom and Australia during the same era. The reverse design of the 1975 5-cent coin is both distinctively New Zealand and highly symbolic of its natural heritage. It features a detailed engraving of a tuatara, a reptile unique to New Zealand that is often described as a living fossil, since it is the last surviving member of an ancient order of reptiles that once lived alongside dinosaurs. The tuatara is shown perched on a rock, rendered with careful attention to its scaly texture and prehistoric features, emphasizing its status as an emblem of endurance and biological rarity. Behind the tuatara, the background includes a depiction of the Sea and South Island's mountainous outline, which provides geographical context and firmly roots the coin in New Zealand's landscape. This reverse design was created by Reginald George James Berry, a renowned coin designer whose work helped establish a distinctly New Zealand identity in coinage after the decimal shift. The tuatara motif was a clever choice, as it differentiated the 5-cent coin from more generic international designs and celebrated something uniquely Kiwi. In terms of technical specifications, the 1975 New Zealand 5-cent coin was struck in cupro nickel, an alloy consisting of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This alloy provided both durability and a silvery appearance that resisted corrosion, making it suitable for long circulation. The coin had a diameter of 19.43 millimeters, a thickness of 1.30 millimeters, and a weight of 2.83 grams, small enough to be convenient in daily transactions, yet substantial enough to handle without being too fiddly. Its edges were milled reeded, providing tactile recognition and discouraging counterfeiting by making the edges more difficult to replicate precisely. These details gave the coin both functional practicality and an appealing aesthetic consistency with other decimal coins. The 1975 mintage of the 5-cent coin was quite high, reflecting the needs of a growing economy and the continuing reliance on small change in everyday commerce. Millions were struck at the Royal Mint in London, which was still producing coins for New Zealand in this era before the country established more self-sufficient minting arrangements. The high mintage means that most 1975 5-cent coins are common in circulated condition today, though mint state or proof-like examples can be scarcer and hold premium value for collectors. The coin's affordability and accessibility made it a staple of wallets and pockets across the country during the mid-1970s, from school children buying sweets to bus passengers paying exact fares. Culturally, the 1975 New Zealand 5-cent coin carries a dual legacy. It represents New Zealand's ties to the crown through the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, while simultaneously celebrating a uniquely indigenous symbol through the tuatara. This combination underscores New Zealand's dual heritage, balancing colonial institutions with a strong sense of local identity and pride. The tuatara, in particular, embodies New Zealand's commitment to conservation and the uniqueness of its isolated ecosystem, which had evolved species found nowhere else in the world. Thus, the coin is not just a piece of currency, but also a miniature ambassador of the country's biodiversity and values. From a numismatic perspective, the 1975 5-cent coin is not particularly rare in circulated form, but it still holds collector interest because it forms part of the early years of New Zealand's decimal coinage system. Collectors often seek out full sets of decimal coins from the 1970s, and the 5-cent piece is essential to completing those sets. Uncirculated specimens, especially those preserved in mint rolls or sets, are more desirable and command modest premiums above face value. Proof strikes, which were produced in limited numbers for collectors, are significantly scarcer and highly valued. Over time, as fewer of these coins remain in pristine condition, their appeal to collectors steadily grows. In the broader sweep of monetary history, the 1975 5-cent coin now represents a bygone era, since the denomination was completely withdrawn from circulation in 2006. Inflation had gradually eroded its purchasing power, and by the early 2000s, the coin was considered more of a nuisance than a necessity, costing more to produce than it was worth in daily use. Its removal, along with the 1-cent and 2-cent coins earlier, reflected the evolution of money in modern economies, where practicality often trumps nostalgia. Yet for those who grew up in the 1970s and 1980s, the little tuatara coin remains a fondly remembered part of daily life, and for numismatists it endures as a fascinating chapter in New Zealand's coinage history. The Elizabeth II D times G times Reg times F times D times 1997 50-pence coin is a fascinating piece of British numismatic history, combining the enduring tradition of the decimal coinage system with one of the most iconic commemorative designs of modern times. The coin belongs to the post-decimalisation period of British coinage, which officially began in 1971 when the United Kingdom shifted from the centuries-old pounds, shillings, and pence system into the simpler decimal currency of 100 pence to the pound. By 1997, the 50-pence coin had already gone through notable changes in both size and design, and the 1997 issue is significant not only because of its denomination, but also because it was one of the last years that saw the coin minted in the larger, heavier heptagonal form, before the reduction in size in 1997 itself. The 50-pence coin in circulation during that year retained the 7-sided, equilateral curved heptagonal shape, which was first introduced in 1969 as part of the decimalization preparation. This shape was chosen because it allowed the coin to be easily recognizable both visually and by touch, while still rolling smoothly in vending machines, making it technologically useful as well as distinctive. Each of the sides is equal in length, giving it both symmetry and uniqueness, which has contributed to its status as a beloved denomination among collectors and the public alike. On the obverse of the 1997 50-pence coin, one finds a familiar and regal portrait of Queen Elizabeth II. This portrait, created by Raphael McCloof, had been in use since 1985 and continued until 1997, after which it was replaced by the Ian Rank Broadley portrait. The McCloof effigy presents the Queen wearing the George IV state diadem, a highly ornate crown featuring jewels and floral motifs, which is often worn by the monarch for official state occasions. The portrait is both idealized and dignified, giving Her Majesty a timeless, youthful quality, as McCloof intended to capture the Queen's enduring presence rather than naturalistic signs of age. Surrounding the portrait is the Latin legend Elizabeth II D times G times Reg times F times D times 1997, which stands for Elizabeth II Dei Gratia Regina Fide Defensa. Translated into English, this means Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith. This inscription is a traditional formula that has appeared on British coinage for centuries, linking the sovereign's role both to divine right and to the monarchy's position as supreme governor of the Church of England. The date, 1997, indicates the year of issue. The obverse design is clean and symmetrical, with the Queen's profile facing to the right, as has been the tradition since her accession in 1952. British monarchs alternate the direction of their portraits with each reign. The reverse of the 1997 50-pence coin depends on whether one refers to the standard circulation coin or the special commemorative design. The standard reverse, designed by Christopher Ironside and used from 1969 until 2008 on circulation pieces, features a seated figure of Britannia beside a lion holding a trident and an olive branch, with a shield resting at her side. Britannia, a female personification of Britain, is an ancient symbol tracing back to Roman times but revived during the reign of Charles II in the 17th century and continuously employed on British coinage. The olive branch in her hand represents peace, while the trident symbolizes naval strength and Britain's historical maritime power. The lion at her feet is a classic emblem of courage and national identity, while the shield with the Union flag reaffirms the unity of the kingdom. The denomination 50 is prominently displayed, making the coin's value clear for users. This design had become iconic by the 1990s, symbolizing Britain's traditions, stability, and continuity within the coinage system. However, 1997 is also a significant year for the 50 pence because it marked the release of one of the most popular commemorative issues, the 50th anniversary of the NHS National Health Service commemorative 50 pence, which was released into circulation that year alongside the standard Britannia type. The NHS 50p coin, designed by David Wynne, features a striking reverse design with a pair of hands surrounding a radiating pattern, symbolizing care, healing, and protection, themes central to the NHS's mission since its foundation in 1948. This design carried a strong emotional resonance with the British public, as the NHS had long been considered one of the nation's most cherished post-war institutions. The commemorative 50p not only honored the milestone of the NHS but also served as a reminder of Britain's collective identity and social achievements in public health. This meant that in 1997, collectors could encounter two distinct reverse designs in the 50 pence denomination, making a particularly interesting year numismatically. In terms of specifications, the 1997 50 pence coin, in its original large type form, was struck in cupro nickel, an alloy consisting of 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving it durability and a silver-like appearance. The weight of the coin was approximately 13.5 grams, with a diameter of 30.0 millimeters, making it the largest and heaviest coin in general circulation at the time. The thickness was about 2.5 millimeters, and the edges were plain, consistent with other decimal 50 pence issues. This large format, however, was phased out later in 1997, when a smaller 50 pence was introduced to reduce weight and improve convenience in daily use. The reduced-size 50 pence weighed 8.0 grams and measured 27.3 millimeters in diameter, but it maintained the same distinctive heptagonal shape. This transition marked the end of an era, and coins dated 1997 can therefore be found in both the large and small versions, adding to their appeal among collectors. From a historical perspective, the 1997 50 pence coin occupies a transitional moment in British coinage. It reflects the final use of the larger, heavier flan that had characterized the denomination since its birth in 1969, and it overlaps with the introduction of smaller, more practical coinage that continues to this day. It also highlights the dual role of coinage as both a medium of daily commerce and a cultural artifact used to commemorate national milestones. The NHS commemorative design in particular showed the Royal Mint's growing tendency in the late 20th century to celebrate social institutions and achievements rather than solely military or royal anniversaries, broadening the cultural scope of coinage themes. In the modern collector's market, the 1997 50 pence coin can be found relatively easily in both circulated and uncirculated conditions, as large numbers were minted for both standard and commemorative issues. The standard Britannia design coins of 1997, especially in the large size, are often collected as last year of issue pieces, marking the end of the big 50p era. Meanwhile, the NHS commemorative 50 pence is cherished not for its rarity but for its sentimental and historical value, representing one of the United Kingdom's most beloved institutions. Both versions are affordable for beginners, but in pristine, uncirculated condition or as part of official Royal Mint proof sets, they can command higher premiums among dedicated collectors.